This weekend, it was our turn to host a party, which we do about once every 6 weeks. Our group consists of 6 people, 3 couples, who typically gather at one of our homes. The attendees are Anna's friend Sally and her husband Carl, our neighbor Jackie, and her current husband Trent. Occasionally others join us, but this core group remains constant. We're all in our 20s, and none of us have kids. This is either by choice or circumstance. Sally and Carl have opted not to have children, while Trent has 2 kids from his previous marriage, who live with his ex-wife. He's actively seeking custody of them. Our parties usually involve food, drinks, and a themed activity. Sometimes it's a simple game of cards, watching sports on TV, or if we're at Trent's place, we'll swim in his pool, weather permitting. The girls, especially Sally and Myanna, take charge of organizing these gatherings, coordinating through phone calls to ensure everyone can attend on a particular date. Anna enjoys chatting and gossiping on the phone, and she's quite adept at organizing events. Anna is a voluptuous woman with wavy light brown hair. She enjoys flirting a bit, which can occasionally drive me up the wall. While she thrives on attention, she's always remained faithful to our relationship. I hail from the coastal town of Oregon, where my family still resides. After graduating from a state university with a degree in finance, I became a certified financial planner. Though somewhat introverted, I found joy in studying money markets, statistics, and economic history. My father's reputable insurance business in our city lent me credibility in the financial world. I was actually named after my father, Joseph Washburn, and go by JT. Initially, I rented office space in his building. I diligently set up meetings with clients, explaining my conservative yet growth-oriented investment approach. While affiliated with a national firm, I also conducted independent research, which I found fulfilling. My first year as a financial planner was moderately successful. Clients saw solid returns, often outperforming the market. Sharing office space with my father allowed me to inherit some of his long-term clients, whom I prioritized getting to know personally. However, by my second year, it became evident that our city lacked the necessary business opportunities to sustain my financial goals. As a student of economics, I realized I needed to expand beyond our city's limits. The weather cooperated for our latest party, so we opted to dine outside on our spacious terrace equipped with a barbecue and open kitchen. When I asked Anna about tonight's theme, she suggested we play a lively and entertaining game, sparking a bit of friendly competition to ensure maximum enjoyment. Personally, I was content with the company, indulging in food, drinks, and perhaps an extra glass or 2 of wine. "What game? Don't sweat it, JT. I'll take care of it. You just focus on getting the barbecue ready." That was fine by me. I started mulling over the group scheduled to gather that evening. First up were Sally and Carl. Sally and Anna had been pals since middle school. Sally, a tad plump but well-proportioned, sported ample assets. I'd rate them at 38. She had a penchant for flaunting them in low-cut tops, a habit I sometimes had to veto in Anna's wardrobe choices. Carl, a diesel mechanic at a large city shop, was a good-natured guy. Despite Sally's flirtatious antics, he remained unfazed. A big fellow, probably around 6'3" or so, Carl was all right, though I doubt we'd be pals if not for Anna and Sally's connection. Then there were Jackie and Trent, our neighbors. How we got so close, I couldn't recall. Jackie had a plain face but an exceptional figure, more lean than Anna's voluptuousness with a natural thinness. She was sharp, and oddly enough, I found we shared the most common ground in the group. Trent was a golfer, slim, standing at approximately 5'9". There was a certain cockiness about him that initially rubbed me the wrong way, but I learned to tolerate it. Trust was another matter, though. Still, he added a spark of wit and liveliness to our gatherings. Just then, the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of guests. Meanwhile, I made plans to relocate my financial planning practice to the city. Joining a firm there, I'd still maintain my practice back in our coastal town, just a 2-hour drive away. The idea was to spend a week each month there, staying with my folks while meeting with clients. So far, the transition had been smooth. I shared an apartment in the trendy Maples neighborhood near downtown with Julian Lee, an old college buddy who worked as an IT specialist for a major bank. The neighborhood boasted walkable access to my office and an array of dining, drinking, and shopping options. It was a vibrant, youthful enclave. It was at one of the local bars where I first encountered Anna, who worked at Lucas, a chic eatery and watering hole nearby. To me, she exuded a Playboy bunny vibe, sensual and stunning. Always dressed to accentuate her curves and cleavage, she tended bar with effortless allure. Our conversation flowed, with Anna showing a keen interest in my life, career, and aspirations. A bit surprising, given my mundane role as a financial planner. In high school, I dated Gail Benson, a lovely, smart girl. We attempted to keep the flame alive through college, but eventually called it quits. Though I had a few flings during those years, a steady girlfriend eluded me. On the night we met, I almost mustered the courage to ask Anna out, sensing a mutual interest. Yet, I hesitated, fearing rejection and the awkward aftermath. "Man, she's smoking," Julian remarked. "You into her? You ought to ask her out." "You think so? Better act fast before someone beats you to it." The following evening, I ventured to Lucas solo and arranged a date with Anna for Sunday night. And so it began. I was a bit nervous. Never had I been with such a stunning woman, yet she showed clear interest in me. It didn't take long before she signaled her interest unmistakably. Love-making. With Anna, it was unlike anything I'd ever known. Despite having had other carnal partners, including my high school sweetheart Gail, I was a mere novice compared to her expertise. We explored every avenue, her guidance proving invaluable. Anna's physique was exquisite. Pert bosom, shapely behind, neither too slender nor overly curvaceous. Soft, alluring, undeniably feminine. Sometimes I pondered her proficiency, her vast experience evident. Yet delving into our carnal histories seemed fraught with discomfort. Any apprehension I harbored paled in comparison to the sheer ecstasy she provided. We lounged on our back porch, having finished dinner and sipping on 2 glasses of wine each. I might have indulged in a 3rd glass of red, engaged in a lengthy conversation with Carl about his aspirations for a managerial role at the diesel shop where he toiled. He pondered attending the owner's church, a devout man, to curry favor. Advising against insincerity, I encouraged him to weigh his options carefully. As we idly chatted, Sally inquired, "So, Anna, what's the plan for tonight?" "All right," Anna began. "Keep an open mind. This is just for kicks. We're playing truth or dare." Internally, I groaned. Yet Carl, Sally, and Trent erupted in applause, signaling their approval. Anna flashed a smile my way before turning her attention back to Sally. Grinning, Carl and Trent joined in, while Jackie, with a faint smile, seemed less enthused. The game kicked off innocuously enough, laced with subtle carnal undertones. Nothing too scandalous. "Who's your celebrity crush? What age did you lose your chastity?" And so on. Then it was Trent's turn to pose a challenge. He singled out Anna, who opted for a dare. "Anna, how about ditching either your shorts or your top?" "Wait a sec," I interjected. "Is this all right? I mean, are you wearing anything under there?" Anna reassured, "It's cool. I've got underwear on. It's like a swimsuit." Anna thrived on attention, her behavior occasionally teetering on the edge. While I appreciated her self-assured sensuality as something uniquely mine, I had no desire for others to encroach upon our closeness. Without hesitation, she shed her top, revealing a lacy white bra that left little to the imagination. Her mammary glands peeked through the sheer fabric, her bosom swaying gently. Standing proudly, Anna basked in the admiration of Trent and Carl, with Sally's giggles punctuating the scene. "You go, girl," Anna reveled in the spotlight. Though inwardly perturbed, I kept my thoughts to myself. Everything proceeded smoothly until Sally dared to reveal her entirely unclothed bosom. In contrast to my reaction, her husband Carl cheered her on. She exposed them, and they were certainly sizable. Not my preference, but sizable. Laughter erupted all around except from Jackie and myself. I suggested, "One more round, then let's call it quits on this game." There were a few laughs and objections, but I worried we might be pushing boundaries. It was Anna's turn, and she picked Trent. "All right, give it a shot," Trent challenged. "Show your package in your pants for 10 seconds, Anna dared. "Don't you dare," Jackie retorted. With that, Trent stood, unzipped his pants, and dropped his shorts and boxers. He was 6 inches flaccid, not skinny. Both Anna and Sally looked to me. I was stunned while Carl chuckled. Trent even did a little dance resembling a male dancer. Anna seemed fixated on his member. Just then, Jackie declared, "I'm out," looking furious. She told Trent he could either get in the car dressed or walk home. With that, everyone departed, and the party was officially over. As we tidied up, Anna was unusually quiet. "This went too far, don't you think?" I ventured. "Oh, lighten up. It was all in good fun," she quipped. "Anna, people were getting undressed or almost undressed, including you," I pointed out. "I'll show you undressed," she teased, beginning to undress. I quickly averted my gaze, feeling both carnally satisfied and uneasy about the evening's events. I resolved to have a serious discussion about boundaries the next day. I wasn't the type to enjoy my wife exposing herself to other men. The following morning, I rose early for a run, planning the conversation I intended to have with Anna. I intended to emphasize that while I enjoyed a good time, our bodies were sacred to our marriage vows. I was unwavering on this matter. Upon my return, I heard Anna laughing on the phone. She must have noticed my presence as the laughter ceased abruptly and the volume lowered. I could have sworn I heard the word undressing before she realized I was there. "Who was that?" I asked. "Just Sally," she giggled. "She and Carl had a blast and declared our party the best so far. Speaking of which, I think we need to discuss some of the events from last night, especially your behavior." Anna was typically easygoing, so it took considerable effort to upset her. But my comment managed to do just that. She insisted it was innocent fun, nothing to fret about. No one else was bothered, and nothing untoward happened. I tried to soothe her, reason with her, and express my feelings, but she remained disinterested. After she lashed out at me, silence fell. As I began working in the yard, I mulled over my emotions. I didn't think I was being unreasonable. I wanted to give her the freedom to be herself. After all, that's who I married. I appreciated her love of freedom, but when it came to closeness, I believed it should be exclusively ours, including the sight of her body. I have to admit, I was a bit unsure of myself. Anna is a stunning, attractive woman, while I'm just a simple financial planner. I know I look good and stay in shape, but I'm aware she attracts attention from all kinds of guys. I have no real reason to doubt her fidelity. But there were a few incidents before we got married that raised my concerns. We'd been dating for almost 3 months then, and were engaged almost throughout. I felt a strong connection with Anna. We had some meaningful conversations, and I learned about her life. Her father's departure left her, her mother, and older sister. Anna craved male attention, and as soon as her body developed, she received it. I didn't delve into her carnal history, but it seemed by the time she was 16, she wasn't a maid anymore. It sounded like she had boyfriends and casual flings, as she put it. No wonder she never had trouble finding the next one. She loved attention, and knew her looks could easily attract guys. We received an invitation to a casual acquaintances party the following Saturday evening. Though we hadn't formalized our exclusivity yet, in my opinion, we were exceptional. She professed her love for me, and to me, love and exclusivity went hand in hand. It was December, and the party was slightly more upscale than usual. When I saw what Anna was wearing, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. It was a red dress that barely covered her chest. "You like my dress?" she teased. "Anna, you look great, but wow, that's quite revealing," I remarked. "You know, I might have clients there, and well, that's a bit much." Anna doesn't get angry often, but when she does, it's usually about her appearance. This time was no different. She got upset, accusing me of thinking she looked trashy and assuming she'd embarrass me. It took some time, but eventually I apologized. Despite the chilly weather, we went to the party and she wore the dress. The house was grand, perched on the hills, adorned with beautiful decorations, and overflowing with food and drink. Among the guests were some of my colleagues, acquaintances from college, and fellow members of the sports club I belonged to. There was a guy at the party I remembered from college, McAllister, a charming yet conceited fellow with an insincere smile and slicked back black hair. He sauntered around with a mischievous grin and a glass of champagne. Then he caught sight of Anna. Anna garnered considerable attention, primarily from men, much of it fixated on her cleavage. Despite this, she was attentive to me, and suddenly I found myself becoming popular among colleagues and casual acquaintances. At one point, I stepped away to grab a drink, and upon returning, I found McAllister engrossed in conversation with Anna, seemingly oblivious to my presence. She reveled in the attention, particularly from this charming fellow who hung on her every word. I managed to pull her away, but as parties tend to progress, people inevitably drift apart, and Anna and I found ourselves separated. Engaging in discussions with some colleagues, I gained valuable insights into business ideas. However, I soon realized it had been over an hour since I last saw Anna. I discreetly scanned the living room, kitchen, and adjacent family room, but she was nowhere to be found. McAllister was also absent. Stepping out into the brisk winter air where a group of people were smoking, I searched for Anna to no avail. As I headed back inside, her laughter reached me from the street. Peering out, I spotted Anna and McAllister strolling down the sidewalk, seemingly enjoying each other's company. "Hey, honey, Jim was just showing me his new BMW," Anna exclaimed upon seeing me, with McAllister chiming in with a joke about the car. Observing Anna, she appeared slightly disheveled, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Concealing my inner turmoil with a forced smile, I announced I was leaving and offered her a ride home. "Of course, I'll come with you," she replied, puzzled by my sudden departure. Just then, McAllister clapped me on the back, expressing pleasure at seeing me again and extending his hand. Though not a bodybuilder, I possess a firm grip from sports. Fueled by anger towards Anna and indignation at McAllister's audacity, I grasped his arm tightly, rendering him speechless with pain. "Honey, you've hurt him, Jim!" Anna exclaimed, alarmed. "I'm sorry, it's my fault," I apologized tersely, heading towards my car without looking back. As I buckled up, Anna caught up with me. This marked our first major argument. Typically, I adored her. She was stunning, and our closeness was unparalleled. However, I knew she craved attention and measured her worth by the admiration of men. Currently, our relationship hasn't been formalized, but to me, a consistent carnal partnership with frequent emotional exchanges symbolizes mature communication. Yet we've never explicitly discussed it. Dropping her off, I declined her invitation to stay over, citing the events of the night as my reason. "Nothing happened with Jim. We were just having fun," she assured me. "Well, that's enough excitement for me tonight. See you later," I responded, driving off. She reached out through calls and messages, but I chose to disregard them. Life carried on as I delved into my work for the week. The following week, I opted to depart on Saturday morning instead of my usual Sunday evening routine. Excitedly, I phoned my mom, who was thrilled at the prospect of my weekend visit. Back in my hometown, I had a fulfilling week with productive client meetings that furthered my success in both my coastal and city businesses. Making strides toward my financial goals, I garnered attention within my organization. A week ago, I would have affirmed that my personal life was on the right track. Now, however, I couldn't make the same assertion. Despite her persistent attempts to reach out, my responses remained minimal. Inquiring about my return, I provided a date. On Friday evening, just before reaching my house, the doorbell interrupted my thoughts. Opening the door, I was met by Anna, clad in a raincoat bearing a wrapped gift. "This is for you," she declared, handing me the package. Inside was an old-fashioned skeleton key. "You have the key to my heart," she declared. I gazed at her with conflicting emotions. With that, she unveiled herself, resembling a figure from my teenage fantasies. Any resolve I held crumbled in a wave of desire. I questioned her about the events at the party with McAllister. "I know I shouldn't have gone out with Jim, but he was so sweet. So what happened?" she explained. "Nothing. He tried to flirt a bit, but I've handled guys like that since I was 15. We conversed, and I admitted my feelings of jealousy. I expressed that if she wasn't ready to commit, I would be disappointed but understanding. I'm not one to play games. I'm either in a serious relationship or not," I asserted. She assured me of her commitment and professed her love, initiating closeness that overwhelmed me. As I mentioned, Anna holds no grudges. The following week's Truth or Dare party proceeded as usual, with her embodying the same alluring and affectionate demeanor that drew me to her. I observed closely, noticing her increased attentiveness to me and decreased interaction with Sally, at least in my presence. One Saturday, while working in my yard, Trent passed by, an occurrence not out of the ordinary. He and Jackie lived nearby. We engaged in a lengthy conversation about lawns and gardening. Despite our limited rapport, our discussion delved into his personal struggles with custody battles and his deep affection for his children. This vulnerability softened my perception of him. Perhaps I misjudged Trent. He might be a decent guy after all. Out of the blue, he inquired about Anna's whereabouts. After a rather intense discussion about his family, he shifted gears and asked about Anna. I informed him she was out shopping, swiftly steering the conversation back to his custody issues. About 15 minutes later, Anna emerged in a skimpy bikini, darting behind a screen at the far end of the backyard to greet Trent. She adores sunbathing in minimalist attire. However, we have a prying retired neighbor named Henry Anderson. Anderson is a reliable fellow who watches over our house when we're away and keeps tabs on neighborhood activities. In short, he's trustworthy, but a tad inquisitive. Since he's also my client, I erected the screen for privacy. Meanwhile, Trent made every effort to catch a glimpse of Anna. I escorted him to the gate, concluding our conversation. As he exited, he jokingly called out, "Need any help with the suntan lotion, Anna?" And that was it. This incident reminded me of another occurrence. Following the incident with McAllister, things improved significantly. In fact, everything was going splendidly. I occasionally reminisced about that event, but there was no need to dwell on it. Our relationship transitioned to a new phase afterward. I suppose I partly rationalized Anna's behavior by considering that we hadn't formalized our commitment to each other at the time, at least not publicly. Now, however, we were deeply committed. Anna was affectionate, caring, and incredibly enjoyable to be around. Did we engage in deep conversations like I had with previous girlfriends? Honestly, probably not. But we had a blast together, and carnally, she was up for anything. Plus, she was stunning. I felt proud to have her by my side in public. She began broaching gentle inquiries about our future and our long-term trajectory, prompting me to contemplate the same. To put it in perspective, I always envisioned myself driving a Camry, and suddenly, I found myself behind the wheel of a Porsche. It sparked an internal tug of war. Part of me questioned whether she was the ideal match for me. Was all this enjoyment just temporary? Yet the other part argued, "Are you out of your mind? Every man dreams of marrying a goddess. What's your hang-up?" Ultimately, the clinching argument was, if I were to end things with Anna, could any other woman physically or carnally compare to her? Thus far, no one has even come close in my life. Plus, I adored her bosom. They were simply spectacular. I proposed to her, and along with the ring, I surprised her with tickets to a Caribbean getaway. Anna was overjoyed. She adored the ring, and the trip was just a few weeks away. Anna phoned her mom in California to share the news, and she also had a lengthy chat with Sally. I reached out to my parents and informed them, and while they seemed pleased for me, there was a hint of hesitation. "Are you sure about this?" Dad questioned. "Absolutely. Any reason for doubt?" I countered. "Well, this is a significant step. Anna is a wonderful girl. I'm very happy for you," he responded. I expressed gratitude, but later pondered if there was a subtle reservation in his enthusiasm. The resort was spectacular. It boasted a swimming pool, numerous on-site bars and restaurants, and a private beach complete with sun loungers and umbrellas. Additionally, there was a beach sports hut offering kayak rentals, jet skis, and other water activities. Upon arrival, we changed into our swimsuits for a stroll along the beach. Anna had 3 types of bikinis: hot, snug, and micro. I teased that the micro was reserved for me. "We'll see," she giggled. We grabbed drinks from the beach bar and ambled along the beautiful crescent of white sand lining the crystal-clear blue water. Anna sported a hot bikini with a sheer white wrap that left little to the imagination. As men and women cast admiring glances her way, I felt proud to be by her side. Afterward, we enjoyed a casual dinner at the pool bar. Following 2 more potent rum drinks, we retired to our room. From our balcony, we watched the sunset, slightly intoxicated. She leaned against the railing, and I approached from behind, caressing her shoulders. My hands found their way to her exquisite bosom. She moaned with desire. The darkness provided minimal cover, but we didn't seem to mind. As she reached climax, I soon followed suit, and our performance was met with applause from somewhere in the vicinity. The resort staff were incredibly attentive, always ready to provide towels, offer directions, or check if we needed anything to eat or drink. Then there were the beach boys, young men in their early 20s who tended to the sun loungers on the beach. Likely reliant on tips, they catered mainly to women over 40 who enjoyed the attention of younger individuals. They fetched drinks, towels, adjusted chairs or umbrellas, and, upon request, applied sunscreen. Naturally, they were drawn to Anna in her skimpy bikinis, making her look incredibly alluring. One of the beach boys' crews was often seen lingering nearby. He possessed smooth, sun-kissed skin, a slim physique, and a bright smile with dazzling white teeth. One day, while strolling along the beach, I suggested to Anna that she might want to ride a jet ski. "You go ahead. I'm going to work on my tan," she replied. "I have an hour-long training session on a jet ski. Have fun and be careful." Riding the jet ski proved to be quite enjoyable, zooming across the ocean for just under an hour before returning to the beach. As I made my way back to the lounge chairs, I spotted Cruz looming over Anna. Upon approaching, I noticed him massaging her bare back. It definitely made contact with the sides of the bosom. "What's happening here?" Cruz promptly stood up. "Mr. JT, I don't want Miss Anna to get sunburned," he muttered. "She needs sunscreen on her back." "I can handle this myself, thank you," he added before hurrying away. "Anna, what's going on?" I asked her quietly but firmly. I didn't want to create a scene on the beach, but it was evident that the beach boy was clearly groping her. "What's happening? Your shirt is unbuttoned. There's barely a couple of inches of fabric covering your rear, and this guy had straightforward access to your body. That's the issue I'm addressing." "Did he touch your bosom?" "Oh, honey, relax. He might have grazed the sides a bit, but they are reserved for you." Hearing that actually aroused me. I suppose I brushed aside Cruz's overly flirtatious behavior and shifted my focus to wanting to have lovemaking with her as soon as possible. I proposed taking a nap knowing what I truly desired. I had to conceal my hardness with a towel as we made our way to our room. Eventually, the blissful moments had to come to an end, and we began discussing wedding plans. On the flight back home, Anna drifted off to sleep, and I reflected on what a fantastic trip it had been. However, the persistent thought of the Latino beach boy groping her bosom lingered in my mind. Once the weekend arrived and Trent came to stay with us, life resumed its normal course. Work was demanding but fulfilling for me, and my earnings were satisfactory. I conducted most of my own financial research, and my investments appeared to be performing well. Anna also worked at Lucas Bar, primarily covering lunch shifts as a waitress. This arrangement allowed us to spend most evenings together. Although Anna didn't necessarily need to work, she enjoyed it and valued having her own income. As summer approached, Anna and Sally began discussing the next gathering for couples following the Truth or Dare party at our place. I hoped these parties would come to an end soon. After extensive discussions and planning, it was decided that the next event would be hosted by Trent and Jackie, scheduled for mid-July, just a few weeks away, weather permitting. It was planned as a pool party. Upon hearing this, I immediately insisted to Anna that she refrain from wearing any of the bikinis from the Caribbean. I suggested wearing red instead. She adamantly refused, stating that it was one thing for strangers to see her like that, but not our friends. With no further discussion, it seemed we had reached a resolution on the matter. On the Tuesday before the party, I received a frantic call from my mom informing me that my father had suffered a heart attack. He was admitted to the county hospital and was scheduled for bypass surgery. I assured my mother that I would come as soon as possible. After informing Anna about the situation, I quickly packed an overnight bag for both of us, and we headed to my parents' place. Despite my concern for my father's health, I also worried about my mother, who relied on my father's strength. With his health in jeopardy, I was apprehensive about how she would cope. When we reached the hospital and located my mom, there was a notable improvement. My father had experienced a minor heart attack. The bypass surgery went well, and his chances for a full recovery were highly optimistic. They planned to keep my dad in the hospital until Thursday before sending him home. I stayed with him on Tuesday night while Mom and Anna returned to the house to rest. They came back on Wednesday morning. Dad was in high spirits, engaged in a crossword puzzle when Mom and Anna walked in. We spent the entire day there on Wednesday, which proved to be rather dull. Anna remained courteous, but I sensed her reluctance to stay in the hospital for long, and I couldn't blame her. Hospitals tend to be quite dreary places. After bringing Dad home on Thursday, I told Anna I needed to stay, but encouraged her to go home. I suggested she could take my car and either return for me on the weekend or I could use my dad's car for a while, as he had no intention of driving. "No, I'll stay with you," she insisted. "Thank you, Anna, I appreciate it, but you should go home," I replied. "I want them to get settled, and I just need to be with them for a few days." She reluctantly agreed and departed on Thursday afternoon. Most of my time on Thursday was spent helping my dad settle in, running errands to the grocery store and assisting my mom in any way I could. I also spent quality time with my dad, watching a few baseball games on TV. Boring? Yes, but I cherished the moments with my parents. On Friday, Anna called and inquired when I would return home. I informed her that I wouldn't be back until Sunday at the earliest. "How about the party?" she asked. "I completely forgot about it," I apologized. "Sorry, honey. I need to be here with my parents. Are you planning to go?" "I don't know," she replied. "Sally wants me to go, and I think Jackie's sister and her boyfriend will be there too." Despite my reservations about Trent, knowing there would be newcomers in the group eased my concerns about things escalating like they did at the last party. "Okay, let me know what you decide to do. I'll call you tomorrow." By Saturday, my father seemed a bit down. I suspected he had overexerted himself on Friday and was fatigued. I stayed by his side, and when he dozed off, I tended to some household tasks to assist my mom. She insisted I take a break and join her for dinner. By then, Dad was already asleep. The next task on my agenda was to relocate everything downstairs and organize it onto shelves for storage. When I have a project, I devote myself to it. Suddenly, I glanced at my phone and noticed it was nearly 10 o'clock. I needed to call Anna. "Hey, what's going on?" I heard some commotion in the background. "Oh, hi, honey. I'm at Trent and Jackie's. We're having a good time. Dad is doing well." Just then, I heard a high-pitched scream, followed by Anna's laughter. "What's happening?" I asked. "What, honey?" she responded amidst laughter. "How much did you drink?" Dear, the connection is not very good. Can I call you later?" Then, more laughter ensued. Suddenly, I distinctly heard Trent say, "Take off that top too," followed by another round of laughter and some muffled chatter. "Oh, this is getting even hotter," Anna remarked. It seemed her phone went offline, but it was evident they were not engaged in innocent antics. If I were to leave now, it would already be after midnight. At that point, I was exhausted and reluctant to risk driving home tonight. Nevertheless, I felt a pressing need to uncover what was truly happening. Suddenly, a thought struck me. Henry Anderson. Since he was in my contacts, I dialed him up. I explained that I needed some snapshots of what was happening at Trent and Jackie's place. He was game. After briefing him on their location and where to position himself for backyard shots, he agreed to head over there right away. With that settled, I powered down my phone and hit the hay. If there was trouble brewing with Trent, I didn't want to face it that night. Exhausted both physically and emotionally from fretting over my father, I slept deeply and undisturbed. The following morning, I powered up my phone. Anderson had sent over some photos. They were even worse than I had feared. Photo 1, Anna Stark undressed, Trent brandishing his engorged member in pursuit. Photo 2, Carl, without clothes and aroused, grabbing Anna's bosom. Photo 3, Anna and Sally, both in the buff, dancing provocatively for Trent and Carl. Photo 4, Trent and Carl engaging in carnal activity with Anna. I didn't need to see any more. These images were undeniable evidence of Anna's betrayal. I'd seen the warning signs, but I never imagined she'd cross that line. It was unforgivable. A dense fog enveloped my mind. I was numb, struggling to process what I'd witnessed. Telling my mom I needed some air, I headed out for a walk. "Everything okay, JT?" she inquired. "Yeah, everything's fine," I lied, unwilling to burden her with this mess while Dad was unwell. I walked and pondered. I cried and pondered. I schemed and pondered. It was hours before I returned home, heart heavy with sorrow. But I resolved to end the marriage, mitigate my financial losses, and exact revenge on those two imbeciles, Trent and Carl. But first, I needed the full story without tipping Anna off to what I knew. Anna rang around noon, her tone unusually sweet. "I miss you like your dad will miss you when you come home. I really miss you, and I need you." I wanted to blame her for her antics at the party, but I kept my lips sealed. I needed to outsmart her. I just had to devise a plan. I needed to shield my assets and myself. I knew I had to play it cool around Anna. I told her my dad's condition had worsened, and I'd be staying another week. In reality, Dad was recovering well ahead of schedule. I suggested it'd be best if she stayed away. The excitement might strain Dad, I fibbed. Monday evening, I slipped away to the city. I reached out to my old roommate, Julian, to crash at his place for a bit. He seemed surprised but accommodating. Once there, I confided in Julian, showing him the incriminating photos. He was taken aback. He knew Anna flirted but never thought she'd cheat on me. I poured out my anguish and my desire for retribution against Anna and her cohorts. I emphasized the need to keep Anna in the dark until I had a solid plan. Julian agreed to keep mum. The next day, I lay in wait at Carl's workplace. Carl, a diesel mechanic, had mentioned a possible promotion he was eager for. Spotting him heading towards his truck, I hailed him. "Carl, let's grab a beer," I called out. Surprised to see me, Carl rarely turned down a drink. We found a nearby tavern, a workers' haunt with sparse patronage. Once our beers arrived, I inquired about Saturday night. "Just another run-of-the-mill party," Carl shrugged. "Is this the usual?" I showed him one of the photos. "Come on, man, what were we supposed to do? The girl stripped. It didn't mean anything." "All right, I get that this isn't out of the ordinary. Oh, by the way, how do you reckon your boss would react to this nothing?" I knew his boss was devoutly religious, and Carl was angling for a promotion. He rose, and I followed suit. He made a threatening move, so I retaliated, landing a punch on Carl. It was like hitting a pillow. Perfect. He went down immediately, devoid of any fight. I've always noticed that when you stand up to a bully, they crumble into cowards. Carl was no exception. I helped him up. The whole altercation was so swift that no one in the bar batted an eye. And if they did, they didn't give a damn. He began apologizing and shifting blame. I shut him up and laid out some ground rules. I had a few questions. I also made it clear that if he didn't want his boss to see the photos, he had to spill the beans on everything I asked, without tipping off Anna, Sally, or anyone else about my knowledge. He nodded eagerly, desperate to keep the photos from his boss's eyes. We sat for over an hour, and I uncovered a trove of information about Anna. His account seemed plausible yet tainted. Anna, Sally, and Carl all hailed from the same high school. Their group represented a socioeconomic mix, spanning the affluent, the middle class, and the lower middle class. Anna and Sally belonged to the less privileged faction. As puberty hit, so did the realization of disparities in clothing, homes, and parental vehicles. Wealthier peers ridiculed them for their outdated attire and aging family vehicles. But for girls, their bodies served as a great equalizer. Anna's stunning looks garnered attention, while Sally, despite being slightly overweight, possessed ample bosoms. This earned them popularity. Carl was confident they both lost their pureness before turning 16. In high school, Sally disclosed a conversation she had with Anna. Anna expressed her desire for finer things: clothes, cars, and homes. Given her penchant for lovemaking, she didn't mind trading it for material possessions. She aimed to find a wealthy man who could fulfill these desires. The wealthier, the better. Carl also mentioned that when Anna and I began dating, she was seeing someone else. She confided in Sally, mentioning that she thought I offered better prospects. Despite dating me, she continued seeing him for nearly 3 months before their breakup. So, she was with both of us for 3 months? Damn, I exclaimed. Carl added, since you two got married, I know of at least 2 other men she's been with, besides Trent and me. Curious, I pressed for more details. Carl lacked specifics, but mentioned a guy named McCallum or something similar. She said you knew him. It dawned on me. It must have been that fool McAllister we encountered at the party before our marriage. Anger boiled within me as I stewed over this revelation. Carl seemed unfazed, simply continuing to sip his beer. It was clear I couldn't stay married to her. I needed a plan. So, if someone with more money, a better car, and a nicer house came along, Anna would leave, I queried. Carl confirmed. I'm pretty sure she would. After pondering for a few minutes, I asked about Saturday night. What about Jackie? Was she part of this? I noticed Jackie's absence in the photos. Apparently, Jackie had to leave because her sister's boyfriend caused trouble. Jackie accompanied her sister home, leaving the party open to others. So, Jackie doesn't know what went down? I probed. No, and let's keep it that way, Carl responded. Don't you care that your partner sleeps with other men? I asked. Partner? We're not married. She just calls me her husband. We've been together for a while. But when I do get married, it won't be someone like Sally. She's great and all, and I do love her in a way. But she's not the one I'll marry. That's why we don't have kids. It was time to depart. My mind buzzed with thoughts. Here were the crucial details. Anna's promiscuity surpassed expectation. Her attachment to me stemmed primarily from financial stability, ready to abandon ship if a better offer emerged. Carl alone shared my secret, and for now, it would remain clandestine. Even someone as dense as Carl proved wiser in the ways of women than I. Returning to Julian, I spilled everything I learned from Carl. Amidst my sorrow, rage bubbled to the surface. Indeed, I felt humiliated. Who knows how many of them mocked me behind my back? They must face consequences, I fumed. Julian probed with questions before immersing himself in his laptop, headphones on. Sipping red wine, I stewed in escalating fury. Julian broke his concentration. She never dated John Paul, did she? He inquired. No, I confirmed. Haven't seen him since college. Why the query? Julian pressed. Can you lay hands on about $30,000? I asked. And also arranged to lease a BMW for 6 months if all pans out, he responded, a grin creeping onto his face. Finally, he revealed, I have a plan. It'll set me back $30,000 plus the BMW lease. Tomorrow, you'll head to Anna's, put on a stellar performance, then return here Thursday post-work. John Paul arrives the next day. I phoned Anna, assuring her of my imminent return that evening. I maintained a facade of normalcy, deflecting her concerns with worries about my father. Either my acting skills surpassed expectations, or, more likely, she paid little heed to me. Thursday evening found us at Julian's. After greetings, Julian outlined his scheme. John Paul will woo Anna, posing as a New York banker. He'll reluctantly unveil his wealth, captivating her with money and affection. With a play in his sights in 5 months, he must act swiftly. John Paul, 2 years Julian's junior, exuded charm with his long hair, slender frame, and winsome smile. She's sure to take a liking to him, Julian mused. I have to ask you something, buddy, John Paul turned to me. Do you mind if I sleep with her? I mean, she's your wife. I assured him I didn't mind. And let's be real, it's not like they've been celibate for 5 months. They'd probably go 5 days max, I quipped. I provided them with Anna's bar schedule, emphasizing the need for discretion. Not only did John Paul need to play his part convincingly, but I also had to play the role of a devoted, unsuspecting husband. The week passed without incident or slip-ups on my end. I kept a close eye on Anna, trying to discern any changes. Yes, we had lovemaking, I mused to myself. Lovemaking with Anna was routine, more like a physical competition than a slow romantic act. It brought satisfaction, but was also exhausting. Thursday evening, we reconvened at Julian's apartment. I was eager for the report. My hope was for Anna to fall for John Paul, but a part of me wished she wouldn't. John Paul had been to the bar 3 times. Initially, he aimed for her attention, then engaged in light conversation and jokes. During our 3rd meeting, Anna mentioned she was working from 11 to 3 the next day. John Paul planned to arrive at 2 o'clock for a late lunch and coffee. I had to invest in a $200 costume to play my part. The following week passed uneventfully. I couldn't shake off thoughts of Anna and John Paul. One evening, I noticed Anna came home late. I wondered what that meant. It felt like waiting for the next episode of a favorite TV show. I couldn't wait for Thursday evening to hear the latest update. Here's what John Paul reported. They had coffee on Friday. Anna confessed to being married, but hinted at marital troubles, appearing receptive. She agreed to lunch on Tuesday, and John Paul subtly hinted at his wealth. Life with Anna continued, but I sensed a growing distance between us. Fine. On Tuesday, I returned home a little after 5, and Anna wasn't there. After a run, I found her at home. While making dinner, I initiated conversation. "How was your day, honey?" This would be interesting, I thought. "Busy day at work," she replied nonchalantly. I knew it wasn't entirely true, but I played along. As we conversed, I felt us drifting apart. Our bed life remained unchanged. Looking back, it was mostly physical without much emotional connection, so faking it wasn't difficult. I decided to make it easier for her. I mentioned my father needing help, planning to leave Friday afternoon. Anna made a feeble attempt to ask if she should come too. I reassured her it wasn't necessary. I'd lend a hand and stay the following week to see clients. On Thursday evening, I received an update that John Paul's advances had progressed. What started as a Tuesday lunch turned into a passionate encounter. Upon learning I'd be out of town, they arranged to meet on Friday evening. It felt like I was orchestrating their relationship behind the scenes, manipulating the outcome to my advantage. And it worked. As weeks passed, their bond deepened. Their closeness culminated in a weekend tryst while I visited my parents. Predictable. Meanwhile, our domestic relationship shifted. Anna grew distant, a change tinged with melancholy. Occasionally, glimpses of the woman I once loved emerged, evoking a sense of loss. After about 3 months, John Paul professed his love and proposed to Anna. By then, she believed he was a wealthy New York banker with a lavish Manhattan abode. When asked about her husband, Anna hinted their relationship was on the rocks, suggesting she hadn't discussed divorce yet. A few weeks later, Anna mentioned a spa trip to California with Sally. I knew John Paul had invited her to Sun Valley. "You'll love it," I encouraged. That night, I was rewarded with passionate lovemaking. I anticipated John Paul's proposal at an Idaho resort. The cubic zirconia ring, nearly $500, seemed genuine enough. Anna, convinced of John Paul's wealth, saw no reason to doubt. The following Thursday, I received a report of their romantic Sun Valley getaway. He proposed, she accepted, and Anna planned to inform me of the divorce. John Paul pressed for a swift marriage, citing his imminent return to New York. Anna assured him she'd break the news to me. My plan was to feign resistance, agreeing to retain my assets in a quick divorce. The plan unfolded seamlessly. When Anna revealed her departure plans, I reacted with shock and sadness, masking my anger. "We're married. I won't let you leave. We'll work this out," I declared convincingly. Meanwhile, she met John Paul at a luxury condo funded by my money. "Anna, my love," John Paul began, wooing her with promises of wealth and security. She was enticed. He proposed a deal. He'd secure my assets in exchange for an immediate divorce. Eagerly, she agreed. At home, I vacillated between anger and pleading, desperate to hold on to her. I repeatedly told her I needed months of counseling before she left. I knew she wanted a quick exit to be with a millionaire. On Friday night, she brought home instant divorce papers, waiving her rights to my assets, our home, car, and investments. I put on an Oscar-worthy performance, yelling, crying, and saying I'd never let her leave. I said I needed time alone in the basement, pretending to be heartbroken while watching baseball. With tearful eyes, I used some Vicine I'd hidden, then left with the signed papers. She left without gloating, but I noticed her confident stride. By mid-September, our divorce was set for October 5th. She forfeited her rights to my assets and planned to marry in New York by month's end. We met that Thursday at Julian's to finalize our plot. Anna would stay in her rented place for 2 weeks. On Friday, after they left, she'd come for her stuff. John Paul promised to meet her at noon with a truck to move her things to New York. By then, he'd be gone, having told her his last name was Taylor to make it hard to find him. Costly and difficult for her, as she was broke. "You're cruel," John Paul said. "She was worse to me," I countered. "I get it. Hate to say it, but I'll miss her in bed. She was the best," he sighed. "Me too," I agreed. I kept things civil with Anna, pretending to be sorry several times but not asking her to stay. I feared she might. That Friday, I met her as she packed, almost tempted to have one last fling but resisted. She was dressed up, thinking she was headed somewhere special. By 12:30, she'd tried calling John Paul, but no answer. She asked to use my phone with the same result. The condo said it was paid till Saturday, then re-rented. She wanted me to watch her stuff while she checked on John Paul. I didn't talk to her till the weekend's end. Phase 2, I said. I sent 3 packages of photos from a party they had while I was away. Trent, Sally, Carl, and Anna were clearly shown. The first went to Carl's devout boss, with a note saying a person's work reflects their morals, including you. Package 2 was sent to Trent's ex-wife with a note saying, "See what your ex is up to. Thank goodness the kids are with you." Package 3 went to Jackie, reading, "Looks like we missed the most amusing part of the party. Hate to break it to you, but you should know." He added, "Once things settle down, fancy a drink?" I signed all notes with my name and number. My final task was McAllister. Maybe Julian could handle that. Anna tried to patch things up, but there was no chance. She arrived the next Monday evening, acting like she'd just returned from work. "Hey, sorry about the mix-up. I'm back for good." I just stared. "Anna, you've wrecked my life," I yelled. "This isn't your home. You're running off to New York." "No, I've changed my mind. I want to stay." "No more games. Forget it. Get out and stay out," I said coldly. She tried her old tricks, starting to undress. I've fallen for that too many times. Closing the door, I told her to say hi to John Paul. Peering out the window, she looked confused, her figure on display. She tried to understand the John Paul reference, a name I'd always kept secret. "Of course," Henry Anderson said, peering over the fence. "Last I knew, she was with Sally, likely searching. Carl not only missed the promotion but got fired, leaving Sally behind. Trent faced a custody hearing and was denied, with increased child support and limited visits. Clearly, the photos influenced the decision. One Saturday night, Jackie called, frantic about Trent heading to my house, drunk and armed. He'd found the source of the messages. I hurried to the backyard, setting up a fake person under blankets as if reading outside. A light was on for attention, and I hid in bushes with a baseball bat. Even without Jackie's call, I'd have heard him. Trent knocked, then entered the backyard, spotting the setup and firing twice. His first shot likely broke his arm. My next swings were aimed lower. I called the police. No special investigation was needed. I defended myself and Trent faced attempted homicide charges. I thanked Jackie for the tip. "You're welcome," she said. "Now, did you offer me something to drink?"